Welcome to Founders Future, a podcast powered by Closers.io, where we dive into the journeys of innovative entrepreneurs and explore the road ahead for them and their companies. I'm your host, Mishal Saeed, and in each episode, we uncover the stories behind impactful ventures, the challenges faced along the way, and the strategies driving their future growth. Today, we're thrilled to have Lori Crever, the founder of Protege Power LLC, joining us. Based in Minneapolis, Lori is bringing a wealth of experience in mentorship and employee engagement, and she is the author of Protege Power as well, a roadmap to mentorship. Her firm empowers professionals and organizations through transformative mentorship programs. We're going to explore her founding story today, how Protege Power is reshaping career development, and her vision for scaling her dynamic business. So let's dive in. Lori, welcome to Founders Future.
Oh, thank you for having me. Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here.
Absolutely. We're so excited to have the show today and find out a little bit more about what got you started. So, on that note, let's kick things off for the listeners. Take us back to the beginning. What specific problem or gap within the mentorship landscape inspired you to start Protege Power to begin with?
I worked for 2 decades at a multinational corporation, and I happened to be in the international division. And that's where I was the person that was designing and leading internal communications, external PR sponsorships and global philanthropy, as well as employee engagement programs. And so within that, I had, and everyone in our division had the luxury of me having a job function of running a formal 12-month long mentor program. And with this, I operated like a concierge at a luxury hotel. Every year, I would interview each incoming applicant, the mentee or protege. I would truly get to know their dreams, what they were looking to develop, where they wanted to go within the industry and the company. And then I would set about, much like a concierge, getting you those very difficult to acquire concert tickets or sporting event tickets. I would find and recruit you a dream mentor. And after a few years of doing this, because the corporation I was in was a huge enterprise, other divisions heard what I was doing and it was successful. So they would say, how are you putting together these mentoring arrangements to have them work? And they really created a lot of forward movement for each mentee. So I would essentially give my trade secrets and hope that they would start a mentor program. But most divisions didn't. They didn't. And
Yeah.
so what inspired me ultimately was I wrote a book, and the title is Protege Power. And that book is for someone, and the work I do now is principally for someone who doesn't have a Lori, doesn't have anybody advocating for them, making a match, discovering a mentor, recruiting them. No, this is for the person, which is most of us, who have to do it ourselves.
Yeah.
We hear it's a good idea to have a mentor. We hear if you have a good mentor, that could create a transformation and a miracle in your career. But nobody tells you, how do you find one? How do
Yeah.
you identify them? But very important, who do you need to be successful in
Yeah.
that arrangement? And that's what the book is about.
I love that. I love how you really you're so passionate about empowering so many professionals out there. And you really just like through your book as well, like such an innovative way to really allow that accessibility of information to those who really can't find a mentor in their own community. I'm so thrilled to hear that. Now let's
Yeah.
get into the nuts and bolts for the listeners, even potential clients of yours tuning in once this episode does air. Would love for you to walk us through how Protege Power generates revenue today. What's your core offer? I know you do the mentorship coaching, the corporate workshops. How do you structure what you do for some of the clients that you work with? And also, who is like your ideal client that you like to work with?
Yeah. I think probably similar to a lot of solopreneurs that are operating in a similar space as I do, which is I have a book and I'm a speaker and sometimes as well a one-on-one coach to help a mentor or to help a mentee. But mostly I'm out there doing 2 hour or half day workshops, adult learner for, I'm hired by talent management, talent development, that sort of thing. So it's not so much through the book sales. You do get some revenue
Yeah.
from book sales, but it's mostly from doing the speaking or facilitating education. I'm also an adjunct instructor at, I'm talking to you from Minneapolis, St. Paul area. and I'm an adjunct instructor at the University of Minnesota and the College of Continuing and Professional Studies. So what I like to do is go in and just really do myth busting with people that are in mentor programs or seeking to create a mentor program so that they can do it right, like not have terrible missteps. And it's been an interesting ride. And what I find is while my mentorship expertise acts as the tip of my spear,
Mm,
the other part of my professional life is I'm a comedy performer,
mm,
not stand-up comedy. I'm part of an improv team. And improv, for those that are familiar, is 100% made up. So it's all imagination,
yeah.
using as the seeds suggestions that we get from the audience.
Mm,
And what I've been finding the last couple of years is roughly half of the requests I get to come in and deliver some type of workshop are on principles of improvisation.
wow.
So that's been a surprise to me, right? Because I just put my heart and soul into codifying everything I know about mentorship in a 288 page 12 chapter book with over
Yeah.
100 illustrations, diagrams. Plus, I
Mm,
recorded as an audiobook. Obviously, it's available as Kindle. And yes, that's a big part of how I am interfacing with the world and earning revenue. But also, I have a real, I think, solid approach to how I can teach principles of improvisation to someone who's a non-actor, someone
mm,
who's not a theater person, has no desire to be on stage or be funny. But
mm,
there's some really Zen-like principles within improv that are so beautiful and timeless that
yeah.
help you, for example, if you're in sales,
Mm,
with your mindfulness to be more present, be a better listener, and very important to comprehend what another person is saying.
mm.
So that's also what I do.
I love that. So from what it sounds like, you are a queen of all trades. You're doing improv, you're doing the workshops, you're doing the one-on-one coaching. Would love for you to help the listeners understand, is it the one-on-one coaching that's like driving most of the revenue right now for you as an entrepreneur? Is it the improv workshops? If you can help us like understand that, which one is the bread and butter for you as you're looking to grow Protege Power?
Yeah, it's the speaking and the workshops for sure. It's the speaking and the workshops. Because if you are in that zone, for example, I'm a member of the National Speaker Association, the
Yeah.
chapter that's in my market,
Yeah.
and that is so helpful. So
Mm,
anybody who's listening to this, if speaking either right now is part of your professional work portfolio, or you aspire to have that, I strongly urge you to look into, is there a chapter for
yeah.
National Speaker Association? This can also connect you with international speaking opportunities. And sometimes it's good to work with a
Mm,
speakers bureau or an agent
mm,
because they're going to have, of course, so many relationships
mm,
with conference and meeting planners,
mm.
those individuals that have budget and that are looking for a speaker who
Yeah.
is very memorable and has a message that's going to resonate with their audience.
Yeah.
That's like its own whole industry jargon. And I'm
Mm,
certainly on a learning curve with that because sometimes I can just book speaking all on my own or through somebody
yeah.
referring me. But I have found it to be abundantly helpful to be part of that professional association because speakers, honorable speakers, which many are,
Yeah.
they are willing to refer business to you.
Yeah.
So if somebody contacts me, example, and says, Lori, can you do a talk on inclusion in the workplace? You know what? I can. I
Mm,
worked across cultures for 20 years, 38 countries, 4,200 employees. Yes, I
mm,
can. However, I will commonly say, I could do that. I have someone in our market
yeah.
that's their expertise. I would
Love-
love to introduce you to them. So that's something that you can create with fellow speakers. If that's, again, if that's part of what your work portfolio is. But you can imagine me as a theater person and a performer. I love doing the speaking. Of course, that would land as that's my front burner because I enjoy being in front of an audience and listening to them and working with them, helping them to understand, get that light bulb moment.
I love that. I love that. And you're all about mutual exchange of ideas, building a community, and you're happy to refer other speakers out there, right? Now, I love the way that you're so passionate about really being very purposeful with the people you work with. And I can tell that's exactly your mindset. Now, I'd love to learn a little bit about some of the ways you're thinking about scaling Protege Power, right? Because we've had so many guests on here. They've done a lot of one-on-one coaching. They do their own workshops. They're almost like a one woman or one man show. How are you thinking about productizing your offer and
Yeah.
scaling? How are you navigating that as an entrepreneur?
Yeah. This may not be a big surprise, and everyone is different. So I feel like the entrepreneur's journey is to just continuously keep tailoring your garment so that it really suits you and fits you. For me, I've got right now three big targets that have demonstrated, documented passion around career mentorship. And I am working to create relationships and get a proposal in front of the right decision maker to enter into a multi-year long-term agreement. That's what scalability looks like to me. So, as an example, in the real estate industry,
Yeah.
realtors are very entrepreneurial. And there are in the United States, where I am, one or more nationwide real estate companies that have offices all over the United States and that they have demonstrated passion around mentorship. But those mentoring arrangements are producing uneven results. So my vision, and I've made a good breakthrough with one, at least I'm in the running, right, to come in and do an education session, is to really open that up and have them fall in love with my work and the way that I deliver it and the wisdom that I bring, and then parlay that into ongoing long-term relationship. That's the vision that I have for myself, but I'm sure it's informed by having a large corporate background. Not everybody has that, and that might seem so unrealistic and daunting, but to me, it's not. And I know in these matrix organizations how many decision makers there are, like how many chefs there might be in the kitchen. And like I say, for some people, they might be hearing that saying, oh, that sounds dreadful. That would take forever. It doesn't sound dreadful to me. It sounds like, that's my world. I get it. You have to be like ultra persevering and
Yeah.
just keep uncovering more and more, who are the influencers, who are the real decision makers. So yeah, I've got three like that I've been chipping away on, but you can see in my energy, I feel very optimistic. And I think it would be a blast because then also I can get to know their brand and their company values so well that part of the work I do will be easily emblematic of what they're all about. And I know from being an employee engagement program manager and designer, that's very important.
Yeah.
That when you're working somewhere, you want to see consistency in how those values and practices are expressed across the company.
Love that. Now, really building on your growth, I would love for you to share a little bit about the way in which you're currently acquiring some of your clients right now. What channels are working well in that sense? Have you tried LinkedIn? Is it organic marketing, referrals, word of mouth? Are you doing anything around social media or paid advertising? What's been most effective for landing clients for some of the mentorship consulting you're doing?
A lot is, as we know, word of mouth. That will never go out of style. It's so meaningful to someone to get a positive endorsement from a person that they know and trust. And that can just open up doors so easily. Also, for me, if someone has seen me, then an example is if that entity, let's say, is hiring a video production team, because part of their huge event that they're doing, this is so common, are some raw videos to really get the employees excited about what the accomplishments have been the last year. If that vendor who's not a speaker and doesn't have a book, but I mean, if they are a vendor to that meeting planning team, then I find they sometimes will just name drop me and say, you should bring her in. She is effective and say all these good things. So having those good relationships with other vendors that are like playing in your same space. LinkedIn, I'm on LinkedIn, Blue Sky, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Wow, that feels sometimes more than enough to keep up with, but I do try to get out a couple times a week to produce my own original social media infographics Then also, I'm sure like so many of you that are listening to us and watching us, I make sure that I am commenting and interacting with other thought leaders' content and giving them amplification, right? As long as it's sincere. And of course it is. And then here's something that, wow, I'm learning can really slice through the noise. A fellow speaker in my market suggested to me, why don't you create, instead of a email or a letter, a video introduction and just try to keep it to a minute and a half or less. So I did that. I recorded like for three different recipients, short video introductions, just looking in the camera, use my phone,
Yeah.
who I am, give a little bit of my credentials, this program I ran, the results, my numbers, and then saying, I would love to be part of, and then I name what their event is coming up. In some cases, it might be an event that's coming up 10 months from now, because if it's a big organization, they plan way in advance. And I heard from the recipient, one within 30 minutes and one within 3 hours.
That's incredible.
I know. And one of them, I had been trying, and somebody was on the inside trying to also get my book known and get, and I wasn't getting anywhere. And we've been doing that for 2 years. But then this very short 1 minute, 28-second video, the person watched it. They were like, this is impressive that you would send me a video. But it makes sense if you're pitching yourself as a speaker, they want to see your personality and can you demonstrate that you've got a heart connection to their brand. So that I'm going to keep doing that, but strategically. I never want to be a nuisance, but just keeping it short and really speaking to them, their needs, their values, how you could be part of that, I think is the recipe here. That's what I'm discovering, but discovery is ongoing, Mishal.
I love the fact that you're exploring new ideas and new ways of like really getting in front of your audience. You're doing some thought leadership engagement with other creators as well. Lori, I really want to ask because I'm curious. We've had other guests on here and they've leveraged the power of networking and referrals and word of mouth. And like, these are great leads, but sometimes it's not always predictable. What are some of those ways you're exploring to create more of a predictable lead gen, more consistent process so that you're not out there trying to find leads on your own manually? How are you approaching that so it is a little bit more streamlined and automated?
Yeah. A good way, potentially, depending on who your audience is, and this is something that's in development for me, using my background in corporate communications and internal communications, where my team and I produced a newsletter twice a month. So I don't intend to produce something long that's going to take up a lot of time in someone's day. But I do know from some of my fellow people in the business speaking space that having something, let's say once a week at the same time, that hits people's email inboxes, that's short and is gifting them with something. So it's not just a big narcissistic, all about me. It's something that is giving them a little nugget that's useful or entertaining. And sure, we know this, our own behaviors with our inbox. They might delete it. However, psychologically, if they're hearing from me regularly, then at least they know, oh, when they have a need and I can fit that, then I'll be part of that. So that's something that's in development for me. I do have a CRM with about 4,000 names in it. So I'm working right now with a marketing coach to just help me completely polish that all up and get into a steady motion of doing, I'll call it a news brief each week. I'm excited about that.
I love that. Look at you. You're investing in yourself. You're a coach yourself. You've gotten a marketing coach from what it sounds like. And working with that marketing coach, what has that unlocked for you so far? Are you just starting to work with him or are you seeing some of those results already?
I just started a few weeks ago, and what we have begun, I'll call this, is this broad decluttering exercise. Now, this may or may not sound strange to people, but I bet each one of us has had an experience where there's been a room in our house or a drawer or something that it eats away at you because you just know, man, I'm just been tossing things in there and it's gotten cluttery, right? That might be your home office.
Mm.
And there's something both psychological and spiritual and spatial as well, right, in the physical universe that's quite meaningful to decluttering, to really sorting, organizing, tossing, or giving it away, or whatever that is. And so while it might sound at first, oh, this is too related to business, I am convinced it is because where we started is decluttering and reorganizing my garage.
Mm.
And I feel so much lighter. And I
Yeah.
feel like that gives me more space to conceive of my dreams and desires for my professional life. And not only for me to go for it, but there's less density around me. I'm less densely packed that those opportunities and people can come my direction. So some of this is quantum physics, bit theoretical, but I'm having a blast. And I waited a long time to get a coach. I'm always getting approached at networking events by coaches, but each
Yeah.
one of us is a unique creature.
Yeah.
And this particular person, just talking with her at this event in April, I just appreciated her space
Mm.
and her vibration, what I perceived to be her vibration, because then I felt, oh, that's a
Mm.
vibration I would like to be on. So I asked her for her card. She wasn't trying to explicitly sell me, but I just really enjoyed talking with her and about the work that she does.
Yeah.
And then about a week later, then I called her up and I said, I would like to talk to you about helping me with just
Yeah.
handling some foundational things
Yeah.
and holding me accountable and see what we can do to get me to what I believe is my next organic space from which to operate.
So, what is she strategically implementing in place for you to generate leads consistently? What does that game plan look like? If you can help the listeners understand, Lori, like what's in place there? What is she putting together so that you can have more conversations each month?
This is beautiful. She and I have not gotten to that yet.
Wow.
Yeah, we really are. We're starting with the physical space since I work from home.
Yeah.
So, to the degree that, and I bet a lot of people have had this, when you work from home, it can be super easy for your office items to just spill into everywhere. Your
Mhm.
kitchen, your dining area, your living.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we just started working together. And like I say, we're beginning with the foundation. Maybe it's like a viewpoint of what would be the Maslow's hierarchy of your business.
Yeah.
And are there any spaces within the foundation, the largest part of your pyramid, that
Mm.
need to be addressed, that need to be shored up, strengthened? Because some of these maybe represent vulnerabilities, right? Where you don't even realize how you're getting your energy drained into other spaces. Yeah, but I love this. We're going to get there. I want to have all the things that she and I mapped out to do. We have this big Excel spreadsheet project plan by the end of July. Maybe that's ambitious, but
Love
we're doing
that.
it.
So no, this is super exciting. I'm excited for your growth and runway going into this year. So you're looking away at outside of referrals, that's not going to be the most predictable way to generate leads. So you're finding other ways out there to do some marketing and set up those systems from what it sounds like. Now,
Yeah.
your growth's been incredible. I want to learn a bit about your approach to sales. What are some of those strategies? How are you having sales conversations and converting some of those leads that do come in into long-term clients? What is that customer journey look like from first contact to like them signing? How is all of that structured? Is it just yourself as well having those conversations, or do you have a team in place doing the outreach?
It's right now, it's just myself. And then I do have an affiliation with a larger firm who operates with brilliance in the career mentorship space. So in the education space. So sometimes I'm partnering with them as well to develop new business. If it's a certain type of a contract that I think it'd be better to work with them,
Mm.
then that's what I do. And I'm trying to think if there's a like a comparable thing to refer that to. Maybe it would be like if you had a catering business and if it's a certain size job, it's just as easy for you to just do it on your own. You can do it. You've got
Yeah.
the right size kitchen. But let's say it's, whoa, it's a banquet for 2,000 people. And you think, no, I don't have that big of a kitchen or that much equipment to tackle it. So then you're partnering with a larger entity. So I have that option, which by the way is by my design, is
Mm,
by my design. Because
mm,
I like being nimble. I'm not personally trying to create like a company and get an office building. That's not really what's in my vision that I have for myself. So yeah, what I aim to do is create relationship and
mm,
make it really safe.
mm,
Make it just like I'm very easy to talk to. You can tell the truth.
mm.
I don't shoot the messenger. I do have people sometimes tell me like, that's the most honest conversation I've had with anybody in years. So I will really aim to just cut through the veneer
Yeah,
of how we are. Like, everything's great.
yeah.
No, that's impossible. Like, what do you need help with, right? In this area, either mentorship or maybe using the improv principles could be helpful. So yeah, create relationship,
Mm,
follow up, but not in an annoying way. I think all of us know when we're selling, it's a good idea to say, if they're not ready right now, when would you like me to touch base with you again? And then put that in your calendar so that you don't contact them 2 weeks later
mm.
when they won't be in their budget season for the upcoming year until sometime this summer, so that you're timing it based on their timing.
Yeah,
And I think another technique that I use is just, maybe people have heard this term through Miller Hyman, consultative selling, golden silence,
yeah,
where, you're chill. You're not peppering them with questions constantly. You're just being, and
yeah.
give them space to reveal, you hope,
There's
what's
so much.
really going on, right? So then you can get to that.
I want to add, there's so much power in just the golden silence, like you said, where you're listening in and you're observing even like the body language, the pauses. There's so much vocalness in just really that, and that's when being the most present with who you want to work with and help. That's where it matters the most. I love the fact that you're about building relationships, not necessarily like transactionally thinking about that end goal, but like how can I be authentic, and I could see that's really Lori what you're about. I'm curious, given that you are the main person having some of these sales conversations, how are you looking at scaling given that you are wearing all these hats? Like how is that kind of affecting your ability to focus on some of the founder level work and more of those higher level decisions as you like want to unlock that next phase of growth within Protege Power?
I am confident in upcoming months, I'll return to a spot where I will hire a fractional person to join me. I did that last year, and I later concluded it may have been premature, that I thought I knew the talent very well. We had met through a different consulting firm where we both had done some work. But this person, for whatever reason, everybody has a right to create the life that they want. They were fractional for me, so they had other clients. And after about 6 months, it was as if they ran out of gas. They just suddenly had limited or zero interest in doing any of the tasks that we had agreed to. And of course, I know pretty much every entrepreneur has been through this.
Yeah.
It's frustrating because you have this sunk cost in the talent, but
Mm,
then they're a free agent and they can go away if they wish, right? So no hard feelings, but it just was like, whoa, this has been something that's really taken up my time. I need to, as the saying goes, return to the drawing board and figure out all these different pieces that need to be in place.
mm,
And then I'll have a much better view of what does that talent look like, who can take on some of these areas which are either a gap
mm.
or constitute areas that aren't my strengths. And like I say, I'm confident that I will get to that spot. I think what I have discovered when I was in a full-time corporate role, it was amazing to hire someone. Oh my gosh, suddenly, if it's done well and your team's a good oiled machine, you can quintuple your output of work that you're doing because it's just so psychologically secure, right? When you know you're not alone, you know that you're not alone. I think that's what you're driving toward, is for the entrepreneurs that you work with, it can just be like impossible to yourself, wear every single hat, be good at calculating your sales tax you need to be assessing and tabulating and collect, and then be good at PR and be good at marketing, be good at selling and be good at prospecting, be good at business development, and then be the product, right? For someone like me, I'm in dance class 4 times a week because it's good mentally, it's good exercise, and I'm a professional speaker and a comedy performer. So I choose to make that investment to be in very good shape physically because you can tell, I'm very lively and energetic whenever I'm doing something in front of an audience. I think that's a great way to get the message home and have it be memorable.
Love that. I love the fact that you're all about really reflecting, thinking a little bit about how you're going to operationalize and really scale and grow. Now, with really everything you've accomplished in your success, I'd love to really learn a little bit about any bottlenecks or any challenges that stand out really within the present time with scaling. What would it be? Is it attracting like the right types of leads, improving some of your conversions? What are you most focused on solving right now to keep the momentum going as you focus on scaling?
Yeah, I would say what I'm working on and what I alluded to earlier was honing in on my definition of the right lead
Mm,
and my realization that it is exhausting
mm,
to have every job, once it's done, be 100% done. And now you've got to start all over again, right? To do the prospecting, turn as many as you can into actual leads that are qualified, and
mm,
then do the relationship develop, and then take them all the way through that journey. That's why I
mm,
got that bright idea. Wow, I'm such a corporate person and I'm very brand friendly. I'm super compliant when I know what the brand expression is.
mm,
I should find my three or so, it can be more, but even if
mm,
I had three steady corporate clients and
mm.
was getting regular work from them and just knew their whole strategy and structure so well and how mentorship fits in, I would be delighted. And then I would be relieved from doing the immense amount of work, which, again, whoever's listening to this and watching it, what we're speaking about is true. It
Mm,
really is a lot of work to
mm,
uncover and bring in a
mm,
totally brand new client relationship. Not to
mm,
say it can't be done. It's fun. It's
mm.
enjoyable. But yeah, I think for security and some regularity, I'm excited to keep going on these broader relationships that I'm working on and that I'm getting headway.
Love that. Yeah, no, I know the listeners tuning in can totally relate to that. Some of them are struggling as well with like, how do I find the next gig? How do I make sure that this is consistent? Now, with everything you've
Yeah.
accomplished, what's your vision for growing Protege Power into the rest of 2025 and into 2026? Do you have any specific revenue targets, any performance milestones or impact goals you're aiming for? Paint that picture for us.
Yeah. Do you know when a caterpillar dissolves itself
Mm,
into a chrysalis? The biological term for that is the imaginal soup
mm,
before it reconstitutes and then obviously comes out as a butterfly.
mm,
To some degree, I am happily in that imaginal soup as we're speaking right now. This is very much what guided me toward identifying and hiring that coach who's in my market. So she and I work together in person.
mm.
I know that's a luxury. I know that's not always practical and possible. I do a lot via Zoom, including training and one-on-one coaching.
Yeah.
However, I recommend, if it's possible, to
Mm,
find a resource, especially with that type of intimate tie that you form, who's in your market, that you can have at least some of your work together be in person. It really can be such a positive because there's research that we've known about for decades that there's quite a lot that is communicated through our body language and intonation, expressions, all those things. Yeah, I think I just want to get into we're going to clean up my business plan. This is only my second year being in this, which I think is helpful. I hope this is helpful, whoever's listening. I know there's people listening this is their second year. Maybe that's their first year. Maybe they're in their first 3 months of trying this.
Yeah.
So I'm still new-ish, and that's fine. As a creative person, that doesn't give me anxiety. That gives me fuel.
Mm.
And I'm excited to just, yeah, continue the work that I'm doing with my person in my market. And we've just started and it's going really well. So yeah, we'll come out the other side, and summer seems like a good time to do that. And so,
Love that.
yeah, more to come.
More to come, and you're only on the up and up. Now, a couple questions as we're hitting the lightning round. Want to get a bit hypothetical. What's your thought process if we had a genie in the room, you rub the lamp, and now you have all these unlimited resources? What would you implement immediately to accelerate the growth of Protege Power?
For me, it would be, and I have talked to a couple of resources in my market, it would be a steady, literal digital marketing person or firm that specializes in video. I started my career in television. I'm a theater person, as I've shared. I have acted in network television. I've done on-camera interviews with over 200 leaders, business leaders, authors. I'm somebody who's very comfortable on
Mm,
camera and doing video.
mm,
I also have been successful in video when I'm not the producer. In
mm,
other words, this is why someone who's a director of a movie is so important.
mm,
They can get the very best out of
mm,
the talent that's on camera.
mm.
So that's been on my wish list, I would say, that I've met and networked in and had some deeper conversations in my market with people that do video, because that's something I would love to have more of an outstanding creative partner to work on that, because I know how useful it can be to marketing. I already gave my success story, just me shooting a little video on my phone.
Yeah, and there
Totally sliced through the noise. This is not people that ever knew me either. One was in New York as
you
CEO, contacted me within a few hours. And the other was somebody who's the head of learning at
mm,
a big national company. And it
mm.
was successful. And it was not me having a producer. So I can imagine if I had
No,
somebody to partner with me, that's something I'm adding to my list.
love that. Love that. Now, one last question before we do wrap up. For the listeners, entrepreneurs, founders tuning in that are looking to follow in your footsteps, what's like the best piece of advice you would give to them about scaling a consulting business? What would you say on one final note?
There's a term that has surfaced in the last 5 years: radical self-care.
Mm,
I want to encourage you to think about, what does that mean to you? How does that look for you? There's just too many of us that have gone through long stretches in our lives as high achievers and visionaries where we have near burnt ourselves out or burnt ourselves out.
mm,
It's almost like an unexpected incongruency that when you factually bake in,
mm,
example, taking a walk each day for 30 minutes,
mm,
it gives you more time. It
mm,
it makes your headspace less dense.
mm,
And I think because part of the entrepreneur model is we are fueling ourselves to a large degree,
mm,
pay attention to what are the things that add fuel to you. And I just gave take a walk, but maybe it's taking martial arts
mm.
class or being in a bowling league or fill in the blank, whatever that means to you. I think that can make a really big difference. And it also gives you, I hope, more calm
Mm,
so that people that you're meeting with, they
mm,
desire to do
mm,
business with you.
mm,
They reach to be in a relationship with you. And I think sometimes if we're just all pumped up and jazzed up and marketing selling mode, people can sense that
yeah, yeah.
and reject it, right? So there's just that nuancy thing of, how do you create the space so that people would like to be in a relationship with you business wise? And of course, you can do it.
I love it. I love it. Wow, what an incredible way to end today's episode. Lori with the wise words of wisdom. Truly incredible. We're excited to see your success and everything that you're going to do as you really start to scale and build your vision here. On that note, thank you so much, Lori, for joining us today and sharing your incredible journey and insights from leading mentorship programs to really founding Protege Power. You're empowering so many professionals with transformative mentorship solutions, and we're excited to see the runway going into 2025. So to our listeners, if you enjoyed the episode, don't forget to subscribe to Founders Future wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. If you would like to work with Lori, we will link her profile below in the summary, and you can find some more resources and insights at closers.io, where we're dedicated to helping businesses accelerate their growth through trained appointment setters and world-class sales systems. Until then, everyone, keep climbing, and we'll see you all on the next one.